Ethan Brooks lunged across the crowded vineyard lawn, grabbed the nearest woman by the hand, and kissed her before she could say a single word. The world seemed to freeze. The violin music faded into the background. Champagne glasses stopped halfway to smiling lips. More than 100 wedding guests stared at them in stunned silence. Then applause erupted. There she is. Ethan's grandmother shouted with tears of joy. I knew she'd come. The young woman pulled away so fast she nearly lost her balance. Her blue eyes flashed with equal parts shock and outrage. What is wrong with you? She hissed under her breath. Ethan forced a nervous smile while every member of his family watched. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Please don't flare up. I'll explain. You've got 5 seconds. My family thinks you're my girlfriend. She blinked. What? It's complicated. It better be. His grandmother hurried toward them with surprising speed for an 80-year-old. Ethan, she cried happily. You're finally introducing us. Ethan swallowed hard. Grandma, this is. His mind went completely blank, forgetting the fake name he'd been using for 2 years. Emily. He completed after a brief pause. Grandma Margaret clasped her hands together. Oh, she's beautiful. Ethan silently thanked every lucky star in the sky. Unfortunately, his problems were only beginning. 2 years earlier, Ethan had made one tiny mistake. After his painful engagement ended, every family dinner became an interrogation. When are you dating again? We know someone perfect. You shouldn't spend your life alone. At first he politely declined. Then came blind dates. Then surprise introductions. Then his grandmother began inviting eligible women to Sunday lunches without warning him. Desperate for peace, Ethan invented a girlfriend. Her name was Emily. She supposedly worked in environmental consulting. She loved hiking. She adored dogs. She had demanding work schedules that somehow prevented her from attending every family gathering. The lie worked perfectly. Until today. Lucas, Ethan's younger cousin, had chosen Willow Ridge Vineyard for his wedding, and the entire Brooks family had insisted that Emily absolutely had to attend. For weeks Ethan had searched for a way out. He even pretended Emily had caught the flu. Grandma Margaret refused to accept the excuse. If she's important to you, she'd said firmly, she'll come along with you. Cornered by his own invention, Ethan had arrived alone, hoping to think of another excuse. Instead, he kissed a complete stranger. The stranger folded her arms as Grandma Margaret continued admiring her. So you're the woman who's stolen my grandson's heart. Emily, whose real name Ethan still didn't know, managed a polite laugh. I suppose you could say that. Grandma Margaret smiled warmly. You must stay for the reception. Ethan opened his mouth to object. His mother beat him to it. We've saved you 2 seats at the family table. His father grinned. And tomorrow's brunch. Ethan nearly choked. Tomorrow. This disaster had just become a weekend event. The woman looked horrified. She leaned closer without moving her smile. You owe me an explanation. I know. And an apology. Absolutely. She almost laughed despite herself. Almost. The family drifted away, giving the happy couple a few private moments. The instant they were alone, she grabbed Ethan by the sleeve and dragged him behind a row of flowering vines. What were you thinking? I wasn't. I noticed. I'm Ethan. I don't care. I deserve that. She crossed her arms. You kissed a stranger. I panicked. You assaulted me. I'm really hoping you'll accept the panic as a partial defense. She stared at him for several seconds before shaking her head. I should call security. You probably should. But before you do, please hear me out. He told her everything. The fake girlfriend. The endless matchmaking. The broken engagement. The family pressure. Every embarrassing detail. When he finished, she sighed. That's either the most ridiculous story I've ever heard, or the saddest. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. I know. She studied him carefully. For the first time she noticed he didn't seem arrogant. He looked exhausted. Embarrassed. Almost desperate. My name isn't Emily, she finally said. I figured. It's Sophie. Sophie. You don't get to use my name like we're friends. Right. She looked toward the reception where Grandma Margaret was laughing with guests. The older woman's happiness was impossible to miss. You really made her believe someone loved you. I never meant for it to go this far, so why didn't you tell the truth? Because every year the lie gets bigger. He looked down. And after a while, I was ashamed. Sophie didn't answer immediately. She understood shame better than most people. Her own long-term relationship had ended 8 months earlier after discovering her boyfriend had been planning a future with someone else. Since then, she'd avoided serious relationships entirely. She had come to this wedding as a colleague of the bride, helping coordinate the event, not expecting to become part of the ceremony. You only need me until tonight, she asked. I swear. No family vacations. No. No holidays. Definitely not. No pretending we're engaged. Never. She extended her hand. One evening. Relief flooded Ethan's face as he shook it. Thank you. When they returned to the reception, dozens of curious relatives surrounded them. Questions came from every direction. How did you meet? Who made the first move? When did you know he was the one? Ethan froze. Sophie answered before he could. He spilled coffee on my laptop. Several people laughed. Ethan blinked. I did. She squeezed his hand. You insisted on replacing it. Oh. And then you apologized so many times that I agreed to have dinner with you. Grandma Margaret smiled. That sounds exactly like Ethan. The story continued effortlessly. For the next hour Sophie rescued Ethan from every difficult question. She remembered details. Improvised naturally. Made everyone laugh. Watching her, Ethan realized something unexpected. She wasn't simply helping him, she was protecting his family from public embarrassment too. That kindness caught him completely off guard. As the evening continued, Lucas pulled Ethan aside. You finally brought her. I did. You know what? What? I've never seen you smile this much. Ethan instinctively looked toward Sophie. She was laughing with his little nieces while helping them decorate cupcakes. His cousin wasn't wrong. Without realizing it, he was smiling. If you're already wondering how this impossible lie could ever end well, you're not alone. Stories like this prove that one unexpected moment can change everything. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because Ethan and Sophie are about to discover that pretending to be in love is much easier than pretending they aren't beginning to care about each other. Sophie looked up just then and caught Ethan staring. What? She asked. Nothing. It didn't look like nothing. He hesitated before smiling awkwardly. Thank you for not letting me drown out there. She shrugged. You still owe me for the champagne you spilled. I'll buy you a whole bottle. You'd better. Neither of them noticed the elegant woman standing across the courtyard, her eyes fixed on them with unmistakable recognition. Her expression slowly hardened. Then she whispered to herself, well, this just got interesting. The woman didn't approach them immediately. Instead, she stood near the edge of the reception, swirling the sparkling cider in her glass as she watched Ethan and Sophie laugh with his family. A slow smile spread across her face. Oh, Ethan, she murmured. You never did learn how to stay out of trouble. Meanwhile, Ethan had almost forgotten anyone else existed. So, Sophie said as they walked toward the dessert table, how many people are in your family? He rubbed the back of his neck. Depends who you ask. That's not an answer. My grandmother counts second cousins, third cousins, neighbors who lived next door 20 years ago, and anyone who's ever brought pie to Thanksgiving. Sophie laughed. So, a lot. A frightening amount. As if on cue, another elderly aunt appeared beside them. Ethan. Are you keeping poor Emily all to yourself? Before he could answer, Sophie smiled. He keeps disappearing every few minutes. The aunt pointed a teasing finger at Ethan. I told you he was shy. I'm not shy, Ethan protested. You hid in the pantry during your 10th birthday party. I was reading. You were hiding. Sophie covered her mouth to hide another laugh. Oh, this is wonderful. Ethan sighed dramatically. They're never going to let me live that down. Absolutely not, his aunt replied before wandering away. Sophie nudged him gently. I think I understand why you lied. You do. They love you. They do. They're just, overwhelming. You have no idea. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then Sophie quietly asked, was your engagement really that painful? Ethan's smile faded. Yeah. You don't have to tell me. I think I should. He looked across the vineyard toward the distant hills. Her name was Vanessa. Sophie listened quietly. We were together for 4 years. What happened? She said I planned everything. You sound organized. I am. But eventually she said there wasn't room in my life for surprises. Sophie frowned. And then she surprised me. How? I came home early one afternoon. He forced a weak laugh. Turns out she wasn't alone. Sophie stopped walking. Oh. It ended that day. I'm sorry. I thought I was over it. Were you? No. His honesty caught even him by surprise. I think after that, pretending to have a girlfriend became easier than risking another heartbreak. Sophie nodded slowly. I understand. You do. My ex spent almost a year telling everyone we were planning a future together. What happened? He was. Ethan looked confused. Just not with me. For the first time that evening, silence settled comfortably between them. Neither needed to explain any further. Pain recognized pain. Across the lawn, Grandma Margaret watched them. She smiled knowingly at Ethan's mother. They're talking with their eyes. Helen chuckled. Mother. I'm serious. They've only just met. So love doesn't happen in 3 hours. Grandma Margaret looked back toward the young couple. Sometimes hope does. Before Helen could answer, a calm voice interrupted. Excuse me. Everyone turned. A tall woman wearing an emerald green dress smiled politely. Ethan. Every trace of color disappeared from his face. Vanessa. Sophie immediately noticed the tension. Vanessa stepped closer, graceful and confident. I didn't expect to see you. I didn't know you were invited. I'm here with my fiancée. Her words landed like stones. Fiancée. Ethan forced himself to smile. Congratulations. Thank you. Her eyes shifted toward Sophie. And who is this? Sophie extended a hand. I'm Emily. Vanessa looked at it for a long second before shaking it. A pleasure. Her smile never reached her eyes. The famous Emily. The way she emphasized the name made Sophie instantly uncomfortable. Vanessa excused herself moments later, but before disappearing into the crowd she glanced back one final time. Something about that look unsettled Sophie. Later that evening, while Ethan helped Lucas carry wedding gifts to a waiting vehicle, Sophie stepped onto a quiet stone path to enjoy a few moments alone. She had barely taken a breath before someone spoke behind her. "You can stop pretending now." Sophie turned. Vanessa stood a few feet away. "I don't know what you mean." "Really?" Vanessa folded her arms. "Because I know exactly who you are." Sophie's heartbeat quickened. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." "No." Vanessa smiled coldly. "I never forget a face. You worked the Portland Charity Gala 3 years ago." Sophie's expression changed. "You remember?" "Oh, I remember everything." The memory came rushing back. Sophie had been coordinating a fundraising event when Vanessa, then a rising marketing executive, had publicly blamed a young assistant for an expensive mistake she'd made herself. The assistant had been fired before the night ended. Sophie had witnessed everything. She'd wanted to speak up. Instead, she'd stayed silent and she still feels guilty for it. Vanessa tilted her head. "So imagine my surprise when I discover you're pretending to be Ethan's imaginary girlfriend." Sophie's eyes widened. "You?" "Oh yes. I figured it out the second I saw his face." She smiled again. "Ethan can't lie to save his life." "What do you want?" "Nothing unreasonable." "I don't believe that." "You shouldn't." Vanessa leaned in. "I won't expose your little performance." Relief flickered across Sophie's face. "If." There it was. "If what?" "I have an important meeting next month with Brooks Architecture." Sophie's stomach tightened. "Ethan's company. I need someone to convince him to take the meeting. He wouldn't listen to me." "Oh." Vanessa smiled knowingly. "I think he already would." Sophie shook her head. "No. No. I won't manipulate him." Vanessa's smile vanished. "Then perhaps I'll tell his grandmother that Emily never existed." Sophie's heart pounded. "You'd hurt his family just to get your way." "I'll do whatever benefits me." She turned to leave. "You have until tomorrow afternoon." Then she disappeared into the crowd. Sophie stood frozen. Her thoughts raced. She couldn't betray Ethan. But she couldn't bear to watch his grandmother discover the truth in the middle of Lucas's wedding weekend either. For the first time since agreeing to help, she wished she'd said no. A few minutes later Ethan found her staring at the vineyard. "There you are." She forced a smile. "Everything okay?" "Of course." He frowned. "You don't look okay." "I'm just tired." "You've been carrying this lie almost as much as I have." She laughed softly. "I suppose I have." He looked at her for a long moment. "You know." "What?" "I haven't thanked you enough." "You've thanked me at least 10 times. "Probably not enough." She looked away before he could notice the guilt in her eyes. Because now the lie wasn't the only thing threatening them. She was hiding Vanessa's ultimatum. And every minute she stayed silent, the secret grew heavier. If you think Ethan should finally tell his family the truth before things spiral even further, let us know in the comments. Sometimes one honest conversation can prevent 100 painful lies, but would you confess now, or wait until after the wedding weekend? The answer is about to change everything. Ethan barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he remembered the relief on his grandmother's face when she believed Emily had finally walked into his life. Then he remembered Sophie standing alone in the vineyard the night before, forcing a smile that never reached her eyes. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The next morning, the Brooks family home buzzed with laughter as relatives filled the dining room. Pancakes disappeared almost as quickly as they reached the table, children chased one another through the garden, and Grandma Margaret insisted everyone stay long enough for a family photograph. Sophie smiled when people spoke to her, but Ethan noticed she kept drifting into thought. When everyone gathered outside for pictures, he gently touched her elbow. "Can we talk?" She nodded. They slipped away toward a quiet path lined with flowering trees. "You've been avoiding me." I haven't. You have. She sighed. I just have a lot on my mind. Did I do something wrong? She looked at him, guilt filling her eyes. No. Then tell me what's going on. She opened her mouth. Closed it again. I can't. Before Ethan could ask another question, Vanessa appeared at the end of the path. I wondered where you two disappeared to. Sophie's shoulders stiffened. Ethan noticed immediately. What are you doing here? Vanessa smiled politely. I only came to congratulate you both. You've done that already. I don't think I have. She looked directly at Sophie. Have you made your decision? Ethan frowned. What decision? Sophie's heart sank. Vanessa had forced her hand. She took a slow breath. I'm sorry. Ethan turned toward her. For what? I should have told you last night. Vanessa folded her arms confidently, certain she had won. Instead of answering her, Sophie looked only at Ethan. She recognized me. What? She knows I'm not Emily. Ethan's expression hardened as Sophie explained everything, the charity gala years earlier, Vanessa's threat, and the demand that Sophie convince Ethan to meet with her company. When she finished, silence settled between them. Vanessa broke it first. So, now everyone knows. Ethan slowly faced his former fiancée. You tried to blackmail her. I offered her a choice. No. His voice remained calm. You tried to use the woman who's been helping me because you thought I'd be easier to manipulate. Vanessa shrugged. Business is business. Ethan shook his head. No. He stepped closer. The woman I loved would never have said something like that. Vanessa's confident smile faded. The woman I loved disappeared long before we ended our engagement. For the first time, she had no comeback. You've changed, she said quietly. I have. And that's exactly why this won't work. He reached for Sophie's hand. Let's go. Vanessa watched them leave without another word. Back inside the house, Ethan stopped walking. I've been lying for 2 years. Sophie looked at him. You don't have to tell them today. I do. They'll be hurt. I know. They may never trust you the same way. I know. She squeezed his hand. Then don't tell them because you're afraid. I'm not. Tell them because they deserve the truth. He smiled sadly. Will you stay beside me? She nodded. As myself. Together they walked into the living room. The conversation slowly faded. Grandma Margaret smiled. There you are. We were just. Grandma. His voice trembled. I need everyone to hear something. The room fell completely silent. I owe all of you an apology. His parents exchanged worried glances. There is no Emily. Confused faces stared back at him. There never was. Grandma Margaret's smile slowly disappeared. What do you mean? I made her up. He admitted everything. The blind dates. The pressure he felt. His fear after his engagement ended. The lie that became bigger every year. Then he looked at Sophie. And yesterday I dragged an innocent stranger into my mess. Sophie stepped forward. My name is Sophie Bennett. She spoke softly. I agreed to help because I saw how much this family loved Ethan. She looked at Grandma Margaret. I'm deeply sorry for deceiving you. No one spoke. The silence felt endless. Finally, Grandma Margaret stood. Tears filled her eyes. I am disappointed. Ethan lowered his head. I know. I'm disappointed that you thought you had to lie to us. He looked up. She continued. We pushed because we wanted you to be happy. I know. But somewhere along the way. She sighed. We forgot that healing doesn't happen on our schedule. Ethan's mother quietly wiped away a tear. His father walked over first. You should have trusted us. I should have. But thank you for finally telling the truth. One by one, other family members nodded. The hurt was real. But so was the love. Grandma Margaret slowly walked toward Sophie. You didn't owe this family anything. I know. But you protected us from being embarrassed yesterday. I didn't want to ruin Lucas's wedding. The older woman smiled gently. That tells me more about your character than this lie ever could. Then she wrapped Sophie in a warm hug. You came here pretending to belong. She smiled through tears. I think you've been yourself the whole time. A month later, life had changed. Ethan and Sophie had continued seeing each other, without pretending. There were awkward first dates because now they had to learn who each other really was. There were honest conversations. Real disagreements. Real laughter. And no lies. One Saturday afternoon, Sophie accepted a job offer in Seattle. It was an incredible opportunity. She planned to leave in 2 days. As she packed her apartment, someone knocked on the door. She opened it. Ethan stood there, slightly out of breath. I've been looking everywhere for you. You found me. I almost didn't. She smiled. I thought you'd be happy for me. I am, but there's something I should have said weeks ago. He reached into his jacket pocket, not for a ring, but for a folded piece of paper. She looked confused. What is it? The list. What list? Everything I invented about Emily. She unfolded it. Hiking. Favorite books. Career. Dream vacations. Every imaginary detail. I don't need any of it anymore, he said. He gently took the paper back. Then he tore it into tiny pieces. A breeze carried them away. I fell in love with someone completely different. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to fit a story I invented. You just have to be you. He knelt on one knee. This time, he held out a small ring. Sophie Bennett, will you marry me? She laughed through happy tears. You know this is much sooner than I planned. I know. You also know I accepted the job. I know. We'll figure it out together. She looked at him for several seconds before nodding. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. She pulled him into a hug. Months later, the Brooks family returned to the same vineyard where everything had begun. Grandma Margaret raised her glass with a grin. I'd like to welcome my future granddaughter. She looked at Sophie. And I'm very glad her name isn't Emily. The entire family burst into laughter. Ethan looked at Sophie. Funny how the worst decision of my life led me to the best person I've ever known. She smiled. Sometimes the truth takes the longest road to find us. As the music played and the family celebrated under the golden evening sky, Ethan realized he no longer feared disappointing the people he loved. Because honesty had given him something no lie ever could, a future worth sharing. If this story made you smile, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more heartfelt romance stories, and tell us in the comments, would you have helped a stranger keep a secret like Sophie did, or would you have walked away? Until the next story, thank you for watching.